welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and stuff. What's up, guys? Almost, I was like, "Where's Brandon?" All I saw was like a hat.
I'm down here coloring geometric
Yeah.
shapes.
When he thinks of his big ideas, it is when he's in his coloring book, just like every
I'm
toddler
telling
on the
you.
planet.
I'm telling you what, bro.
Oh God.
You know, I may have the mind of a toddler, but my daughter always used to tell me the best dads are the dads that never grew up. You know?
And here you are, back to your roots. Did you guys not get the memo? It's Fancy Friday.
You beat me to it. I was gonna say I didn't get the memo to wear a button down.
Button down. It's not fancy, John. You're wearing short sleeves. Nobody.
Oh yeah, I'm in Florida. You can't wear long sleeves.
100%. You roll them up. That's what a gentleman does. No self-respecting gentleman wears a button-down short-sleeve shirt. Car salesmen wear that. Door-to-door encyclopedia salesmen wear that.
I could door-to-door encyclopedia sales of this shirt.
Anybody here buy a set of encyclopedias for their family? Like, did their family buy a set of encyclopedias from a door?
I had it set when I was a kid. I don't know if it was like.
I remember the guy coming to the door.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
I remember sitting in my living room, and we bought. Not only did we buy 2 years worth of encyclopedias, we did it like 2 years in a row, but we also bought the same leather binding dictionary too. It was like a 2-volume dictionary. I mean, we were. You're middle class when you got the fucking encyclopedia and dictionary set.
Oh, God. I remember the encyclopedias. Back right before there was Google. It was so good. Loved it. All right, guys. Well, hey, we're here on Friday to talk about some real estate and stuff. So I know the headline of our I need to figure out how to put the headline in this because it should show up. But buyers are liars. Sellers are worse, but tenants take the cake. We had some fun graphics put up there with masks and nose. It's pretty funny. But it all kind of stemmed, I believe, because you went to your mobile home park recently, Brandon. And so let's talk about the dichotomy and the relationships and the trickle down of all of those three people and how they fit together.
So in real estate, there's always, as a realtor, you've always been trained that buyers are liars, right? Because they always lie about the pre-approval, being able to go see a house. They lie about having the money, all kinds of shit. And then Pace Morby made it more well known that buyers are liars, but sellers are worse, right? For the investment industry. Well, for the rental industry, I would like to coin the phrase, but tenants take the cake. Because I'll tell you what, these motherfuckers lie, bro. They lie about everything. So I went out there and we had a tenant who was complaining about just an appliance issue, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is she picked the time that she wanted the appliance guy to go out. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden my office gets calls and emails from this lady just blasting us about how big pieces of POSs we are, horrible management. She wasted her whole day waiting, and this guy never called, never came, nothing.
Okay. I feel like there's a caveat to this story.
Right. I mean, I got many stories, but then my office, Brittany called the appliance guy, and the appliance guy is like, well, we called, we texted. So then we got this chain of emails where this lady's denying it, and then she goes, well, I may have sent them to voicemail because I didn't recognize the number. So now she pulls back, and then later on, we get an apology email about how she is so sorry because moral of the story is inside her threat email. She said, and I don't have the email in front of me, but she said, because I have wasted all day, it has cost me $160 of a day's pay. And that may affect me in paying you now that I did not make that money. The response that I sent was very blunt. I said, you pick the day. You taking off work and missing your pay does not give you the right to not pay us. If you do not pay, you will not be living there. And that's when the backpedaling started happening. Mm-hmm. That's when the backpedaling started happening.
Yeah.
And we got that. And then we had another tenant who claimed she sent the rent in, and then she never sent the rent in. And then now she's trying to get assistance to pay the rent. All tenants do is lie. That's all they do is lie.
Okay. So I'm a tenant. Carlos is a tenant. But so I mean, we've talked about this. You have tenants in Florida who I don't hear you complain about as much. Is it the price that they're paying? Do you feel like the it's like, I don't know, what's that like fancy chart like when they're in this cohort over here, they're making them the worst? 'Cause I don't feel like
Quadrant?
I'm a tenant. Quadrant, maybe
So-
you guys are like a quadrant
Well,
graph.
Yeah,
Like,
some of that goes to, and Papa P can speak to this, but some of that goes to the asset class or the grade of
Yes.
the asset that you're in. Like
100%.
me and you are like,
So-
I'm an amazing tenant and I have a good rapport. I've talked about this on the show. Like I pay my rent every day, 10 or 11 days early, very good communication. And I'm locked in at the same
How much
price.
do you pay?
$3,000,
There you go.
but
There you go.
includes everything.
But as soon as something goes wrong, you call them, don't you?
Depends
Because-
what it is. So a lot of the
because
times
you pay
I
free
even
rent.
try to, even a lot of the times I'll proactively try to get stuff fixed myself or see what's going on.
I
don't
used to
bother
be
them.
that guy too. I never called my landlord. I would fix shit on my own and I'd send them a letter, be like, hey, listen, dude, the toilet flapper broke. I fucking put it in myself. Don't worry about it. I
Yeah.
ain't waiting. But so yeah, John. I mean, I run a different type of, and we're getting rid. We only have 2 left, I think, at this point in Florida. We've offloaded every single family mobile home, everything that we've owned over the years as we're trying to get into multifamily. But the ones that I have down here, they run a different thing. It's called don't ask, don't tell. Listen, bro, I'm not going to raise the rent on you, but don't ask me to come fix anything. If you want me to fix something, I'm going to raise you to market rent. If you don't want me to come visit you, that's fine. Just leave my money at my office, and we'll never talk, and I won't bother you. But I don't care if the thing collapses on inside you. I still want my rent money, and I don't want you to bother me. The second I get a call, like I had one of my tenants come and she asked me to repair something. I replaced her stove, but she was like, "Oh, the floors in the bathroom." I'm like, "Listen, that's fine." I was like, if you want to do the repairs, you can. That was our deal. Otherwise, I got to raise the rent to make up for that, but you couldn't afford the raised rent. So your son can fix the floors and do that labor for free if you want that done. But in Arkansas, we don't run that. I mean, we run, it's a whole different business. You're on mute. But
John's on mute. I was going to say, my friend had a good graphic that would paint a picture for you. It's my friend Raul down here that went viral on TikTok for doing like the live calls, raising his tenants' rent. But those are rents that I don't think they'd been raised in like a decade.
That's like this one. Yeah.
Yeah. But he had a good graphic that he posted where it was like on the top part of the graphic, it was tenants and it was like grassy with butterflies and really sunny on top of a hill. And then on the bottom, it was almost like a war graphic where it was landlords and it was them like with like pitchforks or swords. And it was like state taxes, property taxes, capital expenditures.
Yeah, man.
Like
they
all
don't
this
get
stuff.
it, bro.
Yeah.
They don't understand that aspect. It's like landlords eat a lot of shit, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's people out there who are hating on me for not fixing that lady's bathroom floor. But she also can't afford more than $900 or else she's got to go somewhere else. I should be able to rent that thing out for like $1,400, $1,500. But I don't. But that means I would also have to go rehab it, right? So there's hate either way. And then so like the lady that's not paying. So we have one lady who's not paying in Arkansas. Well, we have multiple. But the one lady, she started yelling at us on the phone about how it's a in trailer park. How dare you expect your rent? I've been here for like 6 years, blah, 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 blah. And they get mad because she's now 24 days late on, well, technically 19. We don't consider it late until the 5th. 19 days late on rent, and now she's mad because we served her with an eviction notice.
Yeah.
So, like, who's the bad guy? Is it her? But guess what? I still have to. She just had a leak in her bathroom. Guess who she called? Us.
Yes.
Guess who had to go out there and pay a plumber an emergency visit because
Even though she
didn't
hasn't paid
know.
her rent.
Yeah, even though she hasn't paid her rent. So where do I get that money? Now, luckily, the reason why I do this multifamily is because the rest of my rents make up for these types of situations. I got rid of my single families, most of them in my 20s, because I ran into that problem and I realized single family just wasn't, unless you scale it, it just wasn't for me. I didn't want that demographic. I didn't want the dad that used to have his own home, because back in the day, I did it after foreclosures. So a lot of my tenants were people who owned their own home and were so used to fixing their own shit that when they moved into my rental, they wanted everything fixed, but they didn't want to do it. Now they wanted me to do it. And I was renting at the time was expensive, 1,500 to 2,000 in my market, which was it was a pretty high end type of price range. Cause I was renting like 3 2s, 4 2s, decent single family houses and nice. And I was done with that, man, which is why I like my demographic, but everyone's got their thing. Mm-hmm. But if I don't fix that repair, guess who gets talked shit on?
Yeah.
Me. But if I try to evict her, guess who she talks shit on?
You're just like the worst person on the planet, no matter what happens.
No matter what
happens. You just provide free housing, Brandon. Come on.
But I made a post while I was out there, and Tim Bratz is pretty good at this, and so is Justin Spalding, if you guys follow them on Instagram, and I've kind of learned it from them, where they're like, you got to maintain the common areas first. Like, you go in and you upgrade your common areas, you're outside, or if you're in an apartment, like the lobby and stuff, and you show them that it's under new management and you're taking care of it. And now when you go to raise their rents, they're like, I understand why my rents are getting raised, because these people, they're responding to my maintenance requests. The lobby's been remodeled. They're painting the exterior, whatever it is. So for me, it's my grounds. We're re-graveling the street. We've cleaned up the entire yard, got rid of trash and piles. And, if you follow me, you've seen all the stuff I was posting. There's mattresses. And some people are thankful.
Yeah.
They want that to happen. The people that are just, is spiteful the right word?
Jealous. I kind of feel, I don't know. Maybe spite.
I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of hate coming from it. Like, don't touch, how dare you touch my stuff in my yard? Hey, it's not your yard, bro. It's not your fucking yard. Like, it's my yard. We let you use it, but it's my yard. And that's the thing. I don't know, man. Either way. But if I don't, I still got a mortgage I got to pay. I got financing on it. I got to pay that. I got insurance I got to pay. I got a lawn company that I got to pay monthly. And if I stop paying people, because people stop paying rent, so we're booting a couple people out. We have a couple people who left already. I got a couple vacant units I'm turning over. So there's high stress so I'm losing money now. Now I'm not losing money overall, but my vacancy rate is high, right? Either I'm not collecting or I have vacant units. And so now we have to be really vigilant on the speed of the turnover, and then also on the people that aren't paying. So we now have all of our stuff from our attorney, and we're trying to move. Now that we have an attorney, we're moving faster through this process. And we're in a mobile home park, I was told, and it seems to be true, you only have to do it once or twice, and then everyone else understands.
Yeah. Hopefully they all learn. Trailer park.
Did you see that post, though, that I sent you guys about that lady?
I don't think I saw that one.
Carlos, did you see that? Where the lady was
redistribution of wealth?
No, where she was at the birthday party. The people hadn't paid rent, and she was at the birthday party. Like, she interrupted the tenant's birthday party.
I'm not sure if I saw that one.
And she went viral. And, I get it. We don't know that landlord situation.
So, wait. So, that landlord, that person was late on rent. They were having a birthday party, and she went in and asked for the rent.
I don't think they were late on rent. I just think rent was due. I don't think they were specifically late. But again, technically, your rent is supposed to be paid prior to the first of the month. Right? When it gets up to the first of the month, and I'm sure there's a backstory there where maybe it's been a pattern where they're not paying, so she's there ahead of time trying to remind them. I mean, and we have that in the park where we have people who pay early, and then we have people who pay on time, and then we have the stragglers, and we're getting rid of those stragglers. But who is she so bad for being there to demand her rent? What, you don't know her situation.
No, yeah. I mean, this conversation reminds me of COVID when everybody was like, "Oh my God, people can't pay their rent," and so the government put people don't have to pay whatever it was, the moratorium, on rents, and it's well, what about all the landlords that still have to pay
a moratorium? On my property taxes, on my insurance, on you know what I mean?
That is crazy.
I don't know, man. And tenants don't really care, and I get it. I've been in those situations. I've always haven't been as blessed as I am today, but I remember I didn't pay my rent one time. I was late on my rent in my townhouse. I was down here. I had just moved down here. And it wasn't even that I didn't have the money. I traveled to see my daughter up north. And to me, I paid every single fucking month. So it's not even like I didn't have the money. It's just that back then, it was you wrote checks. I mean, we didn't have technology. I couldn't send a check because I was in PA. I got back and I had an eviction notice on my door. And I was pissed. But I understood it, but I was like, come on. Like, there's a pattern of behavior where I pay early on time for the past, like, however many months. One time, like, nobody called me and was just like, hey, man, what's going on? But that was on me. I should have prepared for that. I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. But the landlord apparently did think it was a big deal, and then I had to rush a check down there so I didn't get kicked out of my fucking townhouse.
That happened to me when my son was born, coming up on 12 years and next week. It was the same thing. Like, we would drop off the check and write out the check and put it in the mailbox, and we were in the hospital because he was born on the 28th. So we were still in the hospital on like the 2nd or something. And because and so the landlord called me. She's like, hey, you're usually like on time. I'm sorry, I'm in the hospital. My son was just born. And she's like, oh, no worries. But yeah, you don't know their situation, right? Like, I mean, they
have bills to pay, man, and you got to respect that.
For some, so not for every landlord, but for a good portion of them, that is their job. That's it's like them going and collecting a paycheck. They got mouths to feed too.
Tenants don't care, man, and that's why I said tenants take the cake. It's not just about lying, but it's about testing limits. So I was teaching them here in the office. I was like, they're like children, they're like puppies. They push their limit and they want to see what they can get. If you're not stern and you put any loose language, right? Like, it's like if I tell my kids, they're like, can we go to the park? And I'm like, yeah, we'll see what's going on later. And we can go to the park if everything works out. That's a yes. All they heard was yes. So later on, when you're like, oh, we can't go, but you said yes. So now you have to rephrase it to the kids and be like, we'll have to see. Maybe we can go, maybe we can't. It depends on your behavior and what else happens in the day. Now they understand that. And that's the same thing with tenants, dude. You can't, if they're late, you can't just be like, oh, okay, send it in the mail. You got to be like, if you're going to be late, there's going to be fines. And if it's any day past the 5th, we're going to file for the eviction. And if you don't pay, we'll have you out in 3 days. And then you'll see how fast money arrives when before they were saying the pain they had. And then you get all their sob stories. We have people in the hospital. Someone broke their pelvic bone. Somebody couldn't walk. How dare we try to demand rent? And guess what? Magically, the rent fucking shows up. But if you're a bleeding heart and you're like, oh my God, I am so sorry. Guess what they're going to do?
Again. They're going to do it again.
They're not going to pay you. They're like, oh, my landlord's cool. I'm not paying him.
It is wild. My friend that does like plumbing services in Maryland, he was just kind of like a bystander in a situation going on where he went in and was like fixing toilets or some type of plumbing situation in the house, and the tenant was like 2-3 months behind on rent and demanding that like the toilets or whatever get fixed, which obviously an understandable request, but he kind of just noticed that or overheard the person was like 2 or 3 months behind on rent and he was going in there and doing work. So can you imagine that guy or gal, that landlord that's out of pocket 3 months rent plus paying
3 months
$500
plus paying? Oh yeah. Like, how pissed are you, dude? Like, so that one lady wants her fridge and stove replaced because she let her place get so bad. The roaches overtook the mechanicals inside the freezer unit. It's not freezing because the roaches, not just in the cooler compartment of the freezer, but I mean in the guts of it. So like the guy took it apart and it was just infested with roaches.
Holy
shit. She wants a new fucking fridge. And the appliance guy's like, do not put anything in here because if you do and she hasn't cleaned the place,
just going to do the same thing. Yeah.
And you're going to be out like $1,000. So we had to get with Section 8 and we're issuing her new terms of lease because she's under the old owner's lease and there's nothing in there specifically that says that. So Section 8 told us we're allowed to send her a new lease. She has to sign it. Once she signs it, we then enforce the section in there about roach treatment. And then if she doesn't take it, we have the right to kick her out.
So wait, she's Section 8 already?
She was a carryover. I know you're talking about me switching to Section 8. She's a carryover.
I didn't realize you still had Section 8s. You already had Section 8s in there.
Yeah, no. I have 2 carryovers. But when we called about them, we found out what we can make off of Section 8. And that's when I was like, wait a second, let's switch all of them to Section 8. And that's what we're doing slowly. So our next 4 units that we're turning over now are all going to be sent to the Section 8 Housing Authority to place.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, but again, they don't care. They didn't clean. They smoke inside and they shouldn't. They got roaches everywhere. They're hoarders. I just want them out.
I hear that. I'm seeing a lot of parallels. I was talking to a buddy last night from Baltimore that he was military. Now he works with like a construction company or does like some type of project management for a house company. He's done like a couple flips, like 2 or 3 flips. And he actually called me because he's like, dude, I thought of you because I'm about to buy this. I think it was like a wholesaling course for $10,000.
Good God.
Yeah, it was a wholesaling course for $10,000. And it was a guy that we've been on a webinar with before. I don't want to say live, but he's legit. He's on like a TV. I think he has like a TV show or something. But I was like, dude, this guy's in California. He doesn't know Baltimore market. Like, he's not going to meet with you personally. You already sound like you have like a little bit of timid in your voice, like you don't want to do it. I'm like, don't do it. But anyway, I was explaining to him kind of like wholesaling and where like he would be coming from as someone that's buying maybe like 1 deal a year, like 1 rehab a year.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing parallels in is kind of like framing perspectives for the 3 people that we're talking about. Sellers, which we talk about in episodes where we're kind of explaining to them like, hey, here's what's going on in the market. Hey, here's what I can pay for everything that I have going on. With buyers, same thing. So that's what I was kind of explaining. That's what I was explaining to my buddy last night is the relationship of wholesalers who might be selling him a deal because he's looking to just like meet with wholesalers. I'm like, yeah, dude, like wholesalers got to cover like literally their marketing expenses for those months, whatever systems, people, processes they have in place for managing the leads, talking, the negotiation skill. So it's like they would love to give you a good discount on a deal, but they also have to make sure that they're making money. And then with the tenants, same thing that we've been talking about. Like a lot of times landlords, they're saving up money for years or a long period to put a down payment on. The risk, there's a calculated risk in buying a property. So it's like, that's a toll. So it's a lot of this is just giving understanded perspective of each of these 3 angles, which I feel like we talked about on episodes before.
And I agree with you, and it's there, and there's definitely parallels between, and I guess you're looking at it from a parallel of like, everybody's operating as a business and you got to respect like what they're charging or asking for because everything costs money. Nothing's cheap.
You have blind spots. Yeah, you have blind spots of the person that you're working with.
Yeah, exactly. And for wholesaling, like I've talked to some of our buyers, when I'm making 30, 35K and it's like, oh man, I'm like, listen, dude, like that was the only one that came in on my direct mail campaign. It covers that cost. Like what I really make off of that is not as much, but
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a balance of the 2. Yeah, you sound good.
But on the tenant side stuff, it's like they want us to supply free housing almost, and so like I got somebody in there at like $650 in a 1,600 square foot 3-2 double wide, and I'm in their place and it's clean. They keep it clean, but they want all this stuff replaced. And rightfully so. Like, there's one thing I couldn't do for them, and it was the floors. I'm like, put a rug over it, okay? I'm not replacing your entire floor for this little bump. But, we're going to do it. But so here I am. I'm going to eat more than their rent in cost, but I should be getting about close to $1,000 for that unit. And I'm getting a little over half of it right now of what I should be getting. But if I go and try to jump them that much, do you think they're just going to say, yes, thank you? And then if I try to explain to them, well, you're in a double wide, blah, 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 the size, the square footage, you think they're going to give a shit?
Right. No, they're just going to think that you're horrible.
Yeah. Like there was a guy who asked me to install a larger amperage outlet outside so he could do welding. When I told him he can't weld on the property, he got mad at me.
Humans
got a business to run creatures. From your trailer park. Come on, jeez.
Yeah. Guess what's in my new lease? You cannot. No working on equipment, no running a business, none of that stuff. I added all that in.
No mining Bitcoin.
No mining. Did you see that guy got caught mining Bitcoin in the basement of a school? It was like a middle school. He was an employee at the school on a routine inspection. they caught him with a mining setup in the basement of the school, and he got arrested.
No,
I was like,
I'm
man,
surprised that
motherfucker's
doesn't
just trying to
happen
make
more
some
often.
money. Just trying to make some money, bro.
Was he there with the equipment? Did they just
I
like open the
don't know
door
the
and
whole
he's just
story.
sitting there
I don't know the whole story.
like deer in the headlights?
That's wild though, dude. But yeah, I don't know. Sellers are worse than buyers, but tenants are worse than sellers. Anyway, to wrap that up, that's all I really want to talk about. I mean, it's just so many stories with rentals that people always talk about how rentals is this passive way to make money, but it's a lot of work. Now, obviously, it's a little more passive for me than it is for the people on my team that take care of it, like my wife Brittany, who runs the parks. Like, it's not passive for her.
Right.
And when I drive out or when I fly out there, it's not passive for me. Eventually it will be as we build a system and a process around it, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, especially if you choose to self-manage them to make sure your costs stay cut.
Mm-hmm.
There's other ways to make money, but mobile home parks are pretty awesome.
Yes, they are. Once you get through all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we wanted to. I think you came up across is it an Instagram thing that I can pull up? About. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
find that.
It was about, I just think it kind of goes on to what we were saying, where they were talking about redistributing the wealth. And they said, if you take the entire nation's net worth and you divide it among households, not people, but households, every household would have $1.1 million. And I responded to you guys, that's not true. And what I meant by that was most of the households will spend that money and it would wind up right back into the pockets of the wealthy people.
Yeah. Almost there. And
that's the thing about redistributing wealth, man. And that's what's the problem with America is they make it seem like having money is such a bad thing. Like you don't have because somebody else does have. And if we redistributed this, everyone would have 1.1 mil. Come on, dude.
The story's gone. Apparently, they took it down.
It was a story.
There were a few good slides on that one. I feel like was it maybe a post? Because I think there was a few slides on there. It had good other ones. I'm not recalling right now, but I remember I liked it when you shared it.
Oh man, I mean, I just had thoughts about it because I didn't like the idea of that whole thought process that if we did this, every house would be wealthy. It's not how that works, bro. Look what happened when we gave the stimulus check.
Mm-hmm. It went right back to Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff Bezos got richer. You know what I mean? Like everybody got richer. Everyone got fucking richer. Wealthy people got wealthier.
It's an interesting topic, and like beyond, I think that is super evident, right? And like makes sense. And if you don't see that, if people want to argue that, when you told me that, what it made me think about was like financial education inside of the United States. I don't know about it anywhere else in the world, but like you raise a good point, right? If we handed every person inside the United States 1.1 million, how many of them are just going to
and you want to know why? Because there's no financial literacy. They're not teaching it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I think that there's a problem with like people, whatever, social media. Look at this livelihood. I want that livelihood. Like I want to own. I want to consume. I think that that's a problem. But at the same time, nobody's teaching anybody like anything.
Nothing.
So I would love to know your guys' opinion. So I'll tell you my experience. So never had a financial class in high school, or college. Nothing like that. My parents were good with money, but they didn't really teach me anything either. They like kept it quiet. They didn't like explain to me like save this amount of money per month or whatever, so on and so forth. So like it really took myself to learn a long time, like the best way to do things, how to do things, like why that's important, all that fun stuff. It like all self-taught. What happened? What's your guys' experience?
I mean, I taught myself. Well, my dad taught me stocks when I was a kid out of the newspaper.
Okay.
So
okay,
I mean,
that's interesting.
He was teaching me that. I grew up watching CNBC. My dad So it wasn't so much financial literacy as it was like knowing that it was possible. I was always into making money. I mean, that's just we didn't have much growing up. My dad made it known that what they had is not what I had, and I had to earn every single thing that I ever wanted. So money was very much ingrained in me. But in my 20s, I mean, I was an accountant. I was studying for my CFA exam. I studied everything to do with finances, stocks, options, every single thing possible. And then I learned about real estate, and I was like, holy shit, there's a whole other way to make money. And so, but it was all you know what I mean? Like, yes, college, but not high school. It was college, and then all of it was after the fact. And back then we didn't have YouTube, so it was all library and books, just books. I was just reading books. I wouldn't go out. I would just study books, and I didn't have much money back then. So what did you do with the money? It wasn't until I got into real estate after the corporate world that I started having money. So.
Yeah, I'm self-taught as well, and it's crazy. I wonder how intentional it is. I mean, not to go down conspiracy theories here, but like there has to be some type of personal finance class in high school, like when kids
they don't want you to have it, bro. Fuck that.
Yeah.
They don't want you to have it. They want to keep you dumb.
It's almost scary because I grew up, my dad did well, but he didn't really teach me anything on finances. But it's scary because a lot of people that are not like well off or lower class, like they might not ever learn, unless they're self-sufficient.
Unless
after high school or
you got to
college,
climb yourself out of the gutters, bro.
It's crazy. It's scary even just like thinking about it while you guys were talking.
Yeah, and imagine. And I think the problem is that the majority of the public, I mean, the median income is $54,000, $53,000. That's median, right? Different than average. Median income. Okay, majority of people make a lot less than that. There's over 30% of people who make over 100K work paycheck to paycheck. People, 70% of America lives paycheck to paycheck regardless of what they make. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you've ever been there, you're just focusing on fucking surviving, bro. You're just focusing on, trust me, I know you're focusing on making sure your family can feed. You're making sure that you're in and up for work. You got what you need. Like you're just trying, is there gas in my tank? Is the electric going to get shut off? You don't have time to pay attention to politics, the news, survival, what's going on in the wars today in China. You can't pay attention to that. And they want that because if you get financial literacy and you can actually become financial free, then you can think for yourself. And so they don't teach it. Instead, they just want you to be a good, little sheepling, man. You come in, you learn the shit they want you to learn, and you become a good employee for them.
Who's them? Like I'm not
society.
a conspiracy theorist person.
It's society. There is no them.
Who does it benefit though? Is it like benefiting a consumer economy? Like we just want people to spend as much money as possible so that we can be wealthy.
There is no we.
I feel like there's a flywheel that makes this happen. That's bigger than like just one aspect. I feel like this goes to this, and then this goes to this, and then all it does is keep people in this cycle.
And that's what they want. And they get you to do the things that society needs. And so there was a teacher who was at a school board meeting, and she said that parents don't have a right to their kids' education, that it is the teachers and the school board's job to teach the kids what society needs them to know. And that's the mindset, right? Is I need to teach these kids what I want them to know, and parents, and because they have control of our kids' minds for longer than the parents do, because they've separated the family and we're all now working. And you get your kid at like 5. I mean, John and I are lucky because I got my daughter in the other office over here. My kids get picked up and they get brought here. So it's a little different. But my eldest daughter didn't get that luxury.
Yeah.
I mean, we had her when we were 20 and she had to go to daycare all in the morning. Then she had to go to school. And then she had to go to daycare after school. I got to spend maybe 2-3 hours with my kid before I went to bed. How many other families are like that? And so guess who gets the biggest impact on your kid's mind? And they don't teach them shit.
Yeah.
And they took away everything. Do you remember back in the day?
I was just about to say that. Home ec doesn't exist anymore.
Wood shop? Did you guys used to have auto shop? We had auto shop.
I didn't do it, but I remember it.
I did. Well, I did metal and wood. So we did that. You could take graphic arts. There was all these things to teach you this stuff.
They don't have graphic arts anymore?
Bro, they don't have shit anymore, man. They don't have shit.
I think that all like went to shit when they started like testing, and so
There's
it's
no
like
money.
yeah,
There's no money. We sent it all to fucking Ukraine, bro.
well, that too.
And we
public
paid off
education
everyone's
system.
student debt.
Mhm.
But I think that's the problem is there's no financial literacy. And that's where I think what real estate does. Real estate is probably the easiest and dumbest thing to learn to develop financial literacy. And then you have two choices. Either keep it or lose it. One of my mentors once told me, he's like, Brandon, you're going to make a lot of mistakes in real estate. He's like, each one's going to cost you money. So you better learn quick or you're going to wind up broke. And so that's the thing. You come in with no financial literacy and you can make money in real estate and you have a choice. You either learn quick what to do with that money or you wind up losing it. And the ones that are self-taught, they'll keep it and they'll progress up the real estate ladder that we've talked about. And the rest of them will lose it and they'll try side hustles or they'll go back to a job. Or maybe they'll keep one or two rentals, but they never progress past that. It's real estate's a lot easier than learning stocks. And I don't care what anybody says from a guy who used to be a financial analyst and accountant. It is so much more than just tickers. There's quarterly earnings, SEC reports you got to learn with real estate. I mean, you just rent that motherfucker out, bro.
Man, I saw one of those videos on Instagram yesterday of like the 14-year-old being a wholesaler. It's like that kid looks like he should be in high school right now.
Yeah.
And he's on negotiating a seller down from 100K. I'm like, what the hell is happening right now?
Could you imagine if that seller knew they were getting handed it to by a fucking 14-year-old?
Right. I know. So, I mean, I'm having this conversation in my head a lot lately. Like, what, you know, I do feel like even financial, like you could learn as much as you want to learn about it, but it takes, I think it's a thing that takes practice. And so my kid's about to turn 12, my oldest. So I'm like, how can I best help him learn and practice this? Because I was trying to think like where to learn how to like best do this.
They have a bunch of stuff out there now, like the green light card and stuff where you can give them money for doing stuff and then they can use that to invest. Different things like that, man. I mean, there's definitely programs for it.
Well, dude, your boy Tim Bratz, I've seen him and a couple other real estate people. There are books that he talks about that I want to start getting these for kids around Wyatt's age, but it's kids book versions of like Think and Grow Rich, Power Positive Thinking, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a company that remakes those for kids.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. There's stuff out there like that. I mean, so my daughter's 17, she's learning stuff and like one of the books, she doesn't know it yet, but before she's able to get freedom in her car, she's going to have to read, I'm going to make her read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich. And then we're going to work on the next step of books and stuff. And I mean, she's got a budget and that's the thing is we got to figure that out before you get your first credit card and you go into debt. I made that mistake. Nobody taught me. I went 60K. I mean, I went huge into debt on credit cards.
I made that mistake too in college when I was funding my films in film school. I didn't go 60K into debt, but yeah, nobody taught me. Like, and I was just like, oh, well, I got to make a movie. I want to make
free money.
Yeah,
free money. I just swipe this thing and like all I have to do is pay $50 a month.
Right. You're like, this is the best. Yeah. Why would I not?
And that,
so yeah, that's what I'm like. I'm thinking like I made those mistakes. It took me, I feel like, too long to learn.
Yeah.
Like I want to make sure that I'm starting to ingrain this into my kids now. And I like automatically, it's like I just want to be more upfront with my kids about money versus like how my parents treated it. So like this mysterious thing this child must not know about.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that should be how it is. And they should understand how hard it is to earn. If you're an investor, they should know that your money comes from investing and how hard it is to invest. If you work for a living, like corporate, they should know how hard it is to make that. Like I knew what my dad did. I understood he was commission based. I understood how hard it was for him to work. And that gave me a respect for the work. There's no respect for working nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
People want they want money, but they don't want to work for it.
I do love that's the one thing I noticed about Alex Hormozy at the very kind of beginning and kind of continuing now, like even him and Layla are both doing it. It's like they actually talk about here's how to behave to have the financial freedom that you need. Like they specifically like about this working. Is yeah, like this is the not like, hey, you need to have 20K in your bank account. He's like, this is what I would do every day. this is the apartment I lived at. It was so cheap. This is what I did to make sure that I could have that, which then led to these other things, which made me where I am now. But he actually teaches the behavior and the actions, and that's where
the
I
thing,
feel
is the
like
behaviors.
yeah, like not a lot of people, like he's like, go to Chipotle and like you get double meat, and then sometimes
100%.
they'll put in 3 scoops and then you get guac on it, and the ultimate meal is like $12, but you just got $20 worth of food. Like that's
and the
kind of
time
stuff.
back of like groceries and cooking.
Yeah.
And cleaning.
Yeah.
Why do you?
Yeah.
I shave my head. It saves me $20. I don't have to go to the barber. I don't have to wait. There's a couple times in between I was like, well, I'll go to a barber, and then I just was like, this is such a waste of my time. But it doesn't have to do with the saving of $20. But if I'm willing to do that to save $20, what am I willing to do in my business? Those behaviors carry over. But there was a time that I feel in our country we celebrated those things.
Yeah.
And we celebrated hard work, and we celebrated being a millionaire. And I feel that now it's rich people are the problem. Having money is the problem. Being a landlord is a problem. Being a business owner, how dare you charge? How dare you not pay me a higher salary? And instead of that being celebrated, what's celebrated is side hustles. What's celebrated is work less to make money and instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And none of those things will ever get you to.
It's all about the perception,
bro. If you spent
why
on
is
your
that?
main,
because
all those are easy, right? So it's,
no. Why is it before that? Why is it that like rich people, because they're seen as like they're seen
because
as,
in order
like,
for you to have,
they don't get taxed. Like some rich
No,
people, a lot of rich people don't get taxed.
It's because you're asking why is it that people think that way, that rich people have, because it's a zero sum game. In a simpleton mind, it's a zero sum game. They have, I don't. Because they have, I don't have. Because they made more money off that product, or that CEO got paid $60 million. They're not paying me, the worker, more money. Because you made more profit on that. You didn't pay me a higher hourly rate. So that's it. Life doesn't work. Very few things work in zero sum. And that's the thing. I mean, some investments do, but it doesn't work like that, bro. Like Elon Musk, he got paid $500 million or whatever it was because he took a company and 10x'd its value over the course of how many years. These CEOs deal with thousands of employees. Good luck with you and the fucking counter of McDonald's trying to go deal with I don't even want to deal with 1,000 employees. I don't think you could pay me enough money to deal with 1,000. It'd be a great blessing to have, to be able to be a leader of a company that size. But like, bro, the amount of money for the weight on and that's what people don't respect. But I mean, that's just me ranting. But yeah, Carlos, I think it's a zero sum game for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always think of like big leverage and super high level stuff. I'm always curious of like what's the easiest or biggest leverage way that we could kind of change like humans as a whole, like scarcity mindset, or even just United States, like scarcity mindset, or because so many people do have that where it's like if someone else has something, that means it's taking away from me, where it's not true at all. And just even changing that, going back to the conversation with my friend.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Going back to the conversation with my friend, he was like, yeah, my wife is like, yeah, the market's saturated with like all these wholesalers and like inventory's low and it's like going to be so hard to find a deal. I'm like, dude, the very first thing that real estate courses teach is mindset, because if you go into that with that consciously there, it's 100 times stronger. Like what you're doing, you are fighting such an uphill battle. So that's why it always comes back to like like a mindset type thing. Yeah.
Positivity, confidence, security. I agree. I 100% agree with that statement, man. That's probably one of the wisest statements we've said on here. It's about your perception too, right? Like it's your perception of the reality of the game that you're playing. And I know a lot of people fucking crushing it, but I also know a lot of people complaining about the market. Just like over here, everyone's trying to say that it's so expensive to buy a house. No, it's not. But you can't buy a house anymore. Says who? Did you go out and try? Because I just saw one in my neighborhood go in 3 fucking days. Me and my wife liked it. I was like, I'd actually go live in that house. Like, well, I would sell this one for that one.
In the desired area where when you did the graphic.
Oh yeah,
it's in the lake.
It's not on the lake. It's closer. There is another one that just came up for 1.3. That's not on the street of the lake, but the one behind it.
Okay.
And we really like that one, but it has no yard. There's nowhere for my dog. The entire thing is patio. But They're going in like 3 days. 3 days at a 5.25% interest rate, and it was a $750K home. So that tells you what most people are saying. Oh my God, like you can't buy a house in this climate. Apparently, you fucking can. And let's not even talk about homes underneath 400K. They don't even.
Oh yeah.
They don't even fucking last, dude.
No.
Unless it's ugly as shit, but. And that's the thing. I think it's mindset, man. I think it's all mindset, and people are being trained to believe that you can't buy a house anymore. That home ownership. I see so many of those posts. Home ownership is dead, and they go, well, the reason why our generation isn't ahead is because my parents made $20,000 a year and a house costs $2,000 a year. You know, here I'm making $50,000 a year and my house costs like 600 grand. I'm like, bro, like that's not an excuse, man. Interest rates were also like what, 18% back then?
Right, yeah, crazy ridiculous.
I remember my dad telling me there was interest rates as high as 18% back in the day when when him and my mom were buying. I can't even fathom that, but guess what? They still bought a house.
Damn it, I was just thinking about something and then I lost it. I do like a lifestyle, I think, too, is an interesting factor when people look backwards, right? Like, so they're like, my parents were able to buy this house. Well, let's look at what you do every day or every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many times are you eating out? How many times are you like going to the bars? Versus like back then, people were at home. Like that was their thing. They saved up. I do like.
They saved up. They didn't buy new furniture and shit. They used old furniture.
Yeah.
They took like hand-me-downs.
I talk to my wife about this a lot, like just like social media, like how it's
ruined us,
changed people's perception of everything, 100%. Right? And you know, the conversation, like you would back then, you'd go talk to people and you'd meet them and they'd be like, yeah, we're whatever. They could explain their life. Now it's like you're only seeing the best. You're only seeing like the greatest,
there's no vulnerability
doctored,
anymore.
Like yeah, and so that changes people's perception, and it's like, oh well, if that's what I'm supposed to be, then why is my life like this?
Yeah,
I want
why
that.
Why am I not traveling? Why does that guy make $300K a month and I can only make $30K a month? Like there's no more. If I'm not that guy, I can't do this. This is it. Like there's ways, man. There's ways to do it. You just. And I only speak from experience. Like I've literally limited myself, I think, mentally a lot of my life. And it's taken 38 years to kind of understand how big of a game that.
Does your watch tell you how old you are?
I know. It's like you're 38. 38 years of figuring out that my mind is, has limiting beliefs, and it carries over, man.
It really
carries
does.
over.
It does.
Anything is possible because everything is possible.
That's right.
Get out there and crush
100%.
it.
All right, let's get into Pulse of the Week because we gotta end this meeting on time.
What do we got for Pulse of the Week? I don't got anything for Pulse of the Week other than we keep sending money to fucking Ukraine. I love that. Right. Come on, dude. Fucking Ohio's over here just blowing up. We have multiple chemical catastrophes. I mean, like,
but we just gotta defend against Russia.
Right. Okay. So for anybody who is, that was a good point. I don't have it pulled up. I can't truly speak on it. Yesterday I watched, Putin's State of the Union address or whatever they call it over there. Probably one of the best speeches, and you have to be completely unbiased, right? You're not going into it hating Russia. Okay. You need to listen to their perspective on the United States, his perspective on the United States and why they look at us the way they look at us. And I didn't disagree with a thing he said other than where he was trying to act like Russia's better than the US. Fuck them. But other than that, like spot on. I was like, this is how other people see us. And we don't even recognize it. So I think for anybody out there, you should YouTube it. Putin's, I think it's called the State of the Union. He got up in front of all those people in Russia and was explaining some stuff. And I thought that was a very good speech. Very good speech. A lot better than what Biden could mumble.
Does he talk about his motives still for Ukraine? I'm curious if that's changed.
Well, yes and no. He talks about the provocation or whatever being provoked by the U.S. I guess is kind of where he goes into it. I guess is what I could say.
Interesting.
I would suggest you watch it. Meanwhile, my man Trump's headed over to Ohio. He's probably up there now. Watch your waters.
I've stayed away from the news for a while. Too much
I'm drinking
to do
my
in
water.
own life.
I told
Stay on your
myself
Mountain
the other
Valley.
day I was going to buy this company. That's garbage water, John.
Do you I just had a coconut water here, which I didn't like. Actually, it's 1 year ago tomorrow that I moved to Miami, which is pretty nostalgic.
Congratulations, bud.
But that's when I thank you guys for having me. That's when I started drinking these. Why I brought it up. Do you buy the Mountain Valleys in singles or do they have packs? I'm about to put in an Amazon order because I just had guests over the last.
Do not buy them on Amazon. You could go to Mountain Valley.
Amazon Whole Foods delivery through Amazon.
Yeah. So I buy them. I get a case discount at Chamberlain's. It's a local health store.
You have a Chamberlain's in Lakeland?
Yeah, we have a Chambies, bro. We call it Chambies, but I buy it there. Our goal, we have a vision board over here, and our goal in the next year is to have Mountain Valley delivered in glass 5-gallon jugs to our house.
They can do that?
Yeah, bro. It's not cheap, but it's definitely something me and my wife said, fuck it, we're doing it. But this company sold for $78 million to a Florida-based company 4 years ago, and I'm pissed because I told myself, I was like, one day I'm going to buy this fucking company. Now I got to figure out who fucking owns it and how much they want to sell it for. Anyway, guys,
I haven't tried that yet.
Listen, my only pulse of the week is this before we get off. We've talked about money, cutting costs. I am releasing a tool that I've been using that my office has invented and created where so if anybody wants this, I'm going to give them a great deal. All they got to do is DM me free data. Because I have a way where I get free data and unlimited skip tracing for practically free. And I am next week. Yeah, it's pretty cool, dude. I showed John this morning the thing that we use and how we coded it and stuff. And he was quite impressed by it.
I did it in
it's so quick,
a
dude.
minute and a half, and you got 500 records of data.
And I've been using it for, I don't even know, the past year or so. And we've been using it in our office. And personally, my office, just over 4 million records in the past month that we've been downloading and now skip tracing. I mean, think about how much money that saves businesses where they can redeploy or trying to operate lean, where you don't have to spend. It has saved us because Brittany went on a cost cutting binge last year. So, and she gave me the task of trying to find a way to cut our data and our skip tracing costs. And we invented something back in the beginning of 2022. So, and we've been using it ever since. And I finally am deciding to release it to everybody. I think everyone should have it. So I'm going to be selling that next week. If any of our viewers want it, you could DM me. That's my Instagram handle there. And next week when I go, I'll make sure you get a fucking super discount for being a loyal follower.
Love that.
But, awesome. Or watcher of YouTube. But
yeah. Data and super cheap skip tracing.
Bro.
Not even skip tracing per record. It's like a monthly.
It's bulk skip tracing. It's bulk. You just upload your list, hit a thing. We have a thing that does it. Boom, boom, boom. I'm not selling the data. It's not my data. I just have a way. We have a source that we use.
Selling the method.
It's my methods and processes to do it. And how we no longer spend about $8,000 a month on data and skip tracing that we used to spend.
So you could spend whatever you're going to charge for that and save 8,000 times 12. I mean, that's just math that nobody should hesitate at saying yes to.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be awesome, man. We've been working on putting together a little thing for everybody, and Monday, Tuesday, it's going live. So
phenomenal.
Right,
shoot, guys. Papa P a DM.
DM me.
I'll
hook you up.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Follow us on everything and let us know what you want us to talk about. See you next week.
Awesome. See you guys.